Welcome to No Strings Attached, untangling conversations about shady topics. Hosted by Roger Megalis, this podcast pulls back the curtain on the window covering industry with expert insights and a splash of Brazilian flair. Whether you're an installer, designer, dealer, or just fed up with crooked blinds, get ready for real tips, industry know-how, and plenty of laughs. Now, let's get untangled.
Hello. Welcome to another show of No Strings Attached. My name is Roger Megalis, and I am your host. If this is your first time here, welcome to the show. And if you haven't been here before, welcome back. Today, I am going to share why I started writing blogs. But before that, I just want to remind you of blindsonline.com. They are our sponsor. And if you're looking for a curated, easy to use, affordable, down to money selection of window coverings, blindsonline.com is your best place to go. They have a good selection. Non-nonsense options, just the basic, but you don't need to worry about it. Between 50 Shades of Whites, just go there, check them out. Blindsonline.com, our sponsor. So today's show, I am going to talk about why I started writing blogs. So the whole thing started when I got into business back in 2006. So I always wanted to have a business. I just didn't know what. So for one reason or the other, I came across an opportunity when my cousin shared with me that shades, that was what he was doing it. He was installing window shades. I thought it could be a good opportunity. Honestly, I didn't know there was even a business, even an industry. But I said, you know what? I'm a truck driver. I like to work with my hands. I can do this on the side. And that's how I started. After a while, I realized I could make a business out of it. And I started doing more seriously. But one of the problems, it was the business side. So I decided to take a QuickBook class at high school, like one of those night classes. And then I went there just to learn a little bit how to balance my books, how to, understand between invoice estimates, the whole basic of running a business. The guy that was teaching the class, he was an accountant. He was also a QuickBooks certified, but he was also a member of a networking group called BNI. BNI is a global organization specialized in networking events. Not exactly events, but kind of to create groups. So you meet every week with the same group of people. You start developing relationships and you develop trust. And that's how you start building your network. So I didn't know anything about this. So this guy realized I could have potential, but I was also green at the same time. So he said, Roger, are you familiar with BNI? And I said, no, I have no clue what you're talking about. So he mentioned it. I checked them out. I decided to join a chapter in Hopedale, Massachusetts, back in 2007. Fast forward, BNI is not just a place that you go and network. You build trust. So it takes time. You go there, you have a commitment. You go there every week. People share things. You learn from each other. It's very structured. It's very good to understand how other businesses work, their struggles, their wins, what works for them, what doesn't work, and you become a better business person doing that. So throughout, my time there, one guy we call a education coordinator. So his role is to educate, like he has a 5-minute session on every meeting to educate the rest of the group on something. And this time he was talking about how personal marketing could work for small business people, which means you don't need to sound corporate. You can just be yourself. You can share a photo of a family vacation. You can share a struggle. It's different tactics that you can apply to your business because you're not surrounding by these bylaws, surrounding by, being sued by the public. So you could be a little more forgiving, a little more intimate with your marketing strategies, with your approaches to your clients. And that really resonated with me. And I said, oh, okay, I understand that. I see the benefit of being a little more personal. And this guy, at the same time, he suggested to check someone out called Michael Katz. He was a marketing guy specialized in solo companies, solo professionals. And his approach was exactly that. Tell things that give you an advantage over big companies. So I started to follow this guy and I started getting his newsletters. And I really felt, okay, I belong here. I can do things like that. I see the benefit of it. But I did not start writing newsletters right away. I just took my time. I was too busy chasing invoices, up on the letters, and all the, small business owners things that we need to do every day. But eventually, I needed to do some marketing for my business. And for one reason or another, I started writing newsletters. I was collecting emails. And that's how I started. Obviously, my English back then was terrible. I didn't know much about it. I didn't have the grammar or anything more polished. So I hired someone to revise my pieces. And I still was brave enough to send it. So the idea was good. The English was not. So I had some help to make more palatable, and I started sending them out. So I would mix real stories with a little humor. Sometimes, things that didn't go well. I was brave to show my true colors. Not just the perfect, polished jobs that happened, but also the struggles, the things that went sideways, the mistakes, and people really related. I start getting feedback. People start liking it, commenting. They start even sharing their own things with me. And I thought it was like, wow, people are really trusting me here. So it took time, but eventually I started liking more and more about writing, to a point that somehow my name got passed along to some people in the industry, and I ended up being invited to start writing articles about the magazines about installations and, struggles and that nature. And eventually I started being known in the industry for my articles and such. And I never stopped writing newsletters for my clients. Even I started a second business, trading up consulting, and I started writing a newsletter, trading secrets for them. And the thing just became natural, to a point that people was kind of, Roger, you really have a unique style. Why don't you write a book? And that, idea start coming back more often. by different people to the point that I said, you know what? I kind of like that. I think I'm going to do something about it. And then last year, I realized that 2026 is a year that I'm completing 20 years in business with Shades in Place. It's a huge mark, it's a huge milestone for any small business. So, to celebrate that, I said, why don't I put together some newsletters, which to me is my major achievement, creating this little community between my clients and, something that really helped me become known throughout the industry was my writing. And say, why don't I put together some newsletters and create a book? So at the end of the year, this thing started taking a shape, and the project became 20 newsletters to represent 20 years in business. On top of that, I didn't want to just copy and paste. So I wrote the newsletter. Actually, the newsletters were already written. So I put them together and I added comments from each newsletters, from feedback from clients. I also added some personal thoughts, personal experiences, something to relate to my newsletter. And honestly, that became really good. Whoever read my early readers community, I have a few people there kind of giving me feedback and all. I have extremely positive response, which made me very, very proud. So with that, I decided to create another website called rogermagalis.com, which I have combined all my businesses under that website. And the reason for that was just to stop confusion, because some people knows me from Shades in Place, some people knows me from the podcast, some people knows me from trading up consulting. And I said, why don't I put all of these together under the same roof so people understand exactly my roles and what I do for each businesses. So I put that together. You can check them out. I actually have links here on the show note. Please check it out. And with that, obviously, I had to have a blog. I had to have a newsletter about that new idea as well. So I created Stories in Motion, which is basically not exactly window treatment related directly, but it is window treatment industry. It is window treatment in a way that I only been here because of the industry that helped me grow, helped me get to where I am today. So rogermagalis.com, it's kind of a hub website where I have all my other business inside there, a little history about how I got there. I also have a blog, and from that, building a page for my book. The book hopefully going to come out around June, July, when I truly celebrate 20 years, is June 23rd, actually, the anniversary date. And the book is called Nobody Told Me That. And the reason for that title is exactly that. It was things that I learned as I went. Nothing planned, nothing kind of you learn in school and then you apply. Is really school of hard knocks at the most pure way possible. So that's the reason I'm writing stories in motion, a little more personal, deeper thoughts about life. I'm a 52 years old now, so 5 decades of experience, 5 decades of blood, sweat, and tears. Everyone that reads the blogs, they really like it. At least that's what they tell me. So I gotta believe it. It's something, sincere, is something from my heart that I really want to share. So today's podcast is about that. How I started, different angle from most marketers that kind of pay to advertise, postcards, magazines, whatever. To me, it was just being sincere. It was just being honest. It was just being myself, sharing my stories. Obviously, it gets sometimes uncomfortable. I also had my wife to kind of be on the back, like in a back room, just watching and say, oh, okay, so don't say it too much this way, be a little more polished here. She was kind of the guidance I needed to kind of have the right tone, but definitely something that gave me an edge. So sharing that with you today. Please check the links on the comments on the show notes. Check the website. Also, if you are interested about my book, there's a link that you can sign up, get a sample chapter in your inbox so you can check it out. How I structured each newsletter with comments, with lessons, with questions. They are called food for thought. So you can see what I bring to the table that way. If you have any comments, any suggestions, even share what is your best marketing tactics for your business and how you get where you are today. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
That's a wrap for this episode of No Strings Attached, untangling conversations about shady topics. If you enjoyed today's discussion, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with fellow industry pros and window treatment enthusiasts. For more expert insights, follow Roger on social media and visit Shades in Place at www.shadesinplace.com. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep your shades stylish and your conversations shady.